Yes, Corey and Jody. We just got back at 4:30 this morning from the 2025 WAN Bass Open at Clear Lake in California. So we'll start out with the trip out. So from Midland, Odessa area, was about 1,800 miles through Panhandle of Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and then up into Utah, over into Nevada, and then California, and then on to Clear Lake. Couple snowstorms in the hills there, and then some pretty brutal traffic once we got into California, going that way west of Reno. But we got there safe and sound. What was your thoughts on the trip out?
Yeah, it was pretty much, it was good. We did touch the sliver of the corner of Colorado, just what, Cortez?
Yeah.
But yeah, it went well. Got to see lots of different weather, rain, snow, sleet. I don't think we saw hail. But that went pretty well.
Yep. So got unloaded at the Airbnb on the lake, and we had a personal ramp to use, just a couple houses down. And how'd our pre-fishing go?
Man, it was tough. You know, it's always intimidating going to a lake you've never been to before. For one, yeah, we had a personal ramp, but it was just tough because, you know, you just don't know where to go. You got to kind of find and look around to kind of see what topography you're looking for to be able to find the fish in those areas.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God for graphs, and thank God for our Corey's electronics for sure. What did you think? You were the one that had to go through all of that.
Well, I was pretty excited initially. Because Clear Lake is a known bass factory. You know, it's like this is you bring your game. It's not 15 to 20 pounds a day is what you would need at frankly most lakes in the country, especially let's just say most lakes in the country. It's 28 to 35 pounds a day is what you would expect to need to you know, be in the top 5 or 10 or hell, even the top 20 on this lake. We weren't on any big ones by no means, you know, in pre-practice all 4 days of that. Mm-hmm. Although there were certainly areas that I expected to hold them. It's a fairly big lake, although it doesn't seem like it looking at the map. But if you need to go from one end of it to the other, you're looking at the same site picture for 20 or 30 minutes. You know, and you're just traveling, just sitting there, just waiting to get there, and that's at 70 plus miles an hour. How about those catfish? So this great big huge ball of shad, like my graph is like 3/4 full of this ball of shad in 20 foot of water, and it's just crowding out the whole graph. And I thought, well, surely this pocket's got some bass in it. And we did catch a few in between, catching 13 and 9 pound catfish.
It was cool.
Yeah, it was kind of fun, you know. It broke up the monotony a little bit, you know. And so from there, going into day one.
Yep, day one.
So we ran across the lake. We used our ramp.
Yep.
Ran across the lake in the dark. was 12 miles as the crow flies, but probably 13 missing the islands and so forth.
Yeah, which that was less stress. Well, I thought it would be less stress because usually for these competitions, you have to, use the boat ramp there. There's lots of people there. You've got to get in, get out, find a parking space. We were a little worried about that.
Yeah, and if you haven't noticed that parking spaces are not getting bigger these days. They're getting smaller and smaller all the time. And, real estate's a premium. And when you got 176 boats to find somewhere to park, maybe using a different ramp with a little less crowd, and then just making your way across the lake, boating IFR, you might say, with the instruments. It relieves a lot of stress, I think, both ways. You're not going to have a wreck at the ramp. You hope you're not going to have one coming across the lake, and then once you get there, it's all relaxed, and it's all good.
Yeah. So that was a good experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything about day one you want to cover?
I was with a younger gentleman. I think he was 23. Scoper, pretty big scoper, and he got me on some. He was scoping the larger ones, but I was able to also get onto some fish that day. We had to call most of the ones I got. They weren't the huge ones that I was hoping for, but it was really cool. Though I did see for the very first time, he did get a couple bedfish. So I'd never really seen when fish are spawning, and they're on the bed, and the male, female, the buck, the female. It was pretty cool. And it was like right there, like it was so close to see. The area that it was at was really lots of trees and bushes and stuff like that. So I just kind of threw my worm out in the back because I really couldn't mess with anything that he was trying to do in the front, but it was pretty cool to watch. It did take him a long time. I bet, gosh, we were there for at least 2 hours for him to try to get the big mama off the bed.
Did you get her?
He did get her. And then he went to try to get another one a little bit later on, and she darted. So, but he was really good though. Very patient. Good family. I think he said out of the San Francisco Bay Area, but he knew this lake pretty good. He fishes that lake quite a bit. And
was Dad's got a house up around the corner from where ours were, right?
Yeah, it just so happened, it was kind of crazy. There was, like Corey was saying, his dad and mom owned a house around the corner from where we were, and him and this other young gentleman, Corey, kind of seen along the road and was talking to throughout the day and or throughout the week that we were there.
Yeah, but not during the daytime, during the early mornings and the late evenings coming in.
Yeah.
I didn't ever see him on the lake.
Well, no, not on the lake, but like when we were getting on or off the water, we just so happened to kind of cross paths on the road going by the house there, and it just so happened that one of those boys were young gentlemen. They're 23, so but that's who I was with. So it was kind of cool because when I called him, when you get your partner for one bass, and they roll it out, and then you call each other and say, okay, this is where we're going to meet and all that. And he's like, hey, I think I'm just down the road from you. So it was kind of cool. It was kind of fun. So yeah. How about your first day?
Gosh, so I don't have I don't have 30 pounds to go to. I don't have 25 pounds to go to. But we had a remarkable day together. Just camaraderie and friendship, and a friendship that I'm sure we'll carry on for years to come, even outside of fishing. And that's kind of what this WAN Bass deal is just so neat, for things just like that. So you can be successful at the weigh-in, but you also need to be successful in life too, and be a character enough that's willing to be open up and be friends with someone new, someone you've never met before, shares the same same interests and hobbies, and just the same kind of person that you would have never met any other way.
Exactly.
You know,
Right.
in 8 billion people on the planet, you know, you meet like-minded people and you get to spend the whole entire day fishing together. You know, whether you win the tournament or you finish last, that's one of the most important things. Is the older that I get, the more that means to me than winning a pile of money. If I was going to be a billionaire, I'd have been hunting a long time ago. So it's clear I'm not going to be a billionaire, but what I get the most enjoyment out of is meeting new people, and we click right away, and knowing that we're going to be friends for years to come.
Yeah.
And we had a fun day together. We had a terrible bag, but we still had a hell of a damn good time, you know. And the next morning, you know, and 176 boats out there, and we're waiting around, you know, for the boat checks and different flights and takeoffs and things like that. You know, I heard my name across the way, you know, and it was him, you know, hollering at me, just saying, "Good morning, good luck," and back and forth, just chatter like that, you know. And that's a lot more fun than going somewhere where there's a lot of attitude and drama. And speaking of drama, with WAN Bass, this is our third one with them, second one this year. There has been no negative drama in the 3 events that we've been involved in. Zero, zilch, like none. And it's way funner than what some of them other guys are going through, if you know what I mean. So
Well, I think Billy's hat says it all. Shut up and fish.
just enjoy it, man.
Yep.
Just, God. Well, it's a life and times we live in, you know, with media and so forth. You know, not all the facts are out there before the mudslinging starts, and so many Cheeto eating experts in the world these days. So let's just move on from that.
Done with that. We're off our
Yeah,
soapbox.
how about your second day?
Second day. So I was with, I drew another lucky person there. He's a guide at Clear Lake. Daniel Skelton. Get the Net is his business. Little plug out for him. What a great guy, though.
That's his name of his business?
Yeah, Get the Net.
His business, his guide business name is Get the Net.
Get the Net.
And he's around Clear Lake?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's a cool
Daniel
name.
Skelton, yeah. And so really great.
What was his name?
Daniel Skelton.
Daniel Skelton.
Yeah. A heck of a nice guy. And we laughed all day long. It was such a good time. And just like Corey said, like you make friends and you're fishing and yeah, it's a competition and you're trying like heck, you know, but you're also just, you know, making contacts and making friends. And he even, you know, said, hey, you know, afterwards, if you guys ever need any help or you guys want to come out, you just come out. And he invited us. We're having Thursday night team tournaments if you guys want to come out. 1,600, 1,800 miles.
Yeah, 3,600 mile round trip. But,
Sure. No, but I thought
you know,
that
but
was
it's just
cool.
it's just a flight away.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Right.
if you have time and you can.
Um,
That's exactly what I'm talking about right there. So we went into WAN Bass. We don't know anybody, and we still don't have a travel group. You know, I haven't caught the fish to deserve that travel group, and that's really what it takes, right? But the other people that we've met along the way, everybody has been friendly, cordial, and cool, and fun to be around. Just a great environment.
Yeah. Yeah. And what was interesting about Danny was, man, he had really worked that lake. He always has, but he was really prepping for this tournament. And on our day, man, you can just kind of see how the evolution of everything happens. On the first day he had like an over 30-pound bag. On our day it was less than that, and the fish weren't there where, you know, he had been looking at them, finding them, doing that, because they were all moving, all, you know, doing their thing for spawning. So it was a challenge. It kind of made me really realize, like, okay, we had been up there, we were challenged just to, you know, one, learn the area, and two, to find the fish. But also, you know, the challenge is real for fishing. It's not easy. It's just not, you put the worm in the water and, you know, it's not that easy. So I gain every tournament, and every time I fish, more and more awareness of how tough it is to fish.
How quick things can change on the water.
Man. Oh man, yeah. And this guy's been fishing a long time also, just like Corey. And so he was, I mean, it's stressful. It's very stressful.
Yeah.
But he got us on them. I mean, we found fish. It might not have been the ones that he wanted, of course, but we found fish.
Well, with that being said, it usually isn't. So even if, you know, like, you can have a great practice, and then like the two young gentlemen around there, and then come tournament time, the weather can change, and now you have to pull this off 3 days in a row, not just one or even two. And then you have 176 other boats, not counting the locals that are just doing their own thing on their own time. And the fish are they're not asking your permission of where to be tomorrow. And they can certainly change. And the guy that's willing to adapt and stay up with those fish and where they've changed, where they've moved to, what their mood is today, what the mood is in 30 minutes from now. Usually the guy that's going to come out on top. Yeah. So how about my second day? My second day. We just kind of scavenged around and just kind of eventually, you know, put together a 13, 14 pound bag, and that was kind of that on the second day.
But you were increasing your weight.
Yeah, I increased 8 or 10 days, you know, as the you know, we had 4 days of pre-fishing. Maybe if I would have had 7, that would have been better, but that's not realistic, you know, for a guy, you know, that works for a living. So we got what we got, and we got our experience, and next year I hope to pick up where I left off this year up there. Your third day.
My third day. So all 3 days, my guys were scopers, and pretty heavy scopers.
And what she means by that is the new technology with our graphs and transducers, that instead of the old ones, they always shot down, you know, and now they've made it where it's live. It's almost perfectly live, although there is a little bit of a lag, maybe a nanosecond difference. But you can see your bait, and you can see the fish. Now it doesn't show the fish so well that you can tell that it's a bass for sure, or any other species you're going after. Making them bite like that is very hard. It's much harder than people would realize. Even though you can see the fish, you can throw right at the fish, you can dangle it right in front of his face. That's not going to make him bite. You know, it's
Well, they turn off and on too. I mean, they just decide that, yeah, I want it, or didn't.
It's like trying to make a little kid eat when he doesn't want to eat.
Awkward.
Yeah, give him some broccoli, see if he takes that, right? Um, so,
But yeah, it was every day was a different experience. Yes, they fished with the scope, but it was all different environments, different areas. So it wasn't like it was just, this, that, this, that. It was different. But my space was limited because we didn't move a lot, because where we were at, there was lots of big fish. So we kind of just really kind of hunkered down, and man, that guy, I think he was whipped by the end of the day, mentally, just to be aiming at that bait and trying to all day long. It's very hard.
well, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's very exhausting. It's very, very intense. So you just don't cast around. You have to be a perfect caster. How the transducers, and this is what's in the water, it has a very narrow beam. So you have to be a perfect caster. And you see that fish right there, you have to be 80 feet out. You have to make a perfect 80-foot out cast that falls inside that small window of where that fish is. And if you're off by that much, you're not there. And it takes multiple casts over and over, and a lot of concentration. You still have the boat work going on with you, adjusting the boat. And Mother Nature's like, so she'll throw a little swirling wind at you, or she'll throw it this way or that way, and then you have the underwater currents moving your boat around. Meanwhile, you have to keep your sight window inside this little tiny window. It's very hard. It's very, very hard to do. Anybody that thinks that's a cheater box is full of shit. They've never done it. They've never done it. They've never done it successfully.
Yeah. So, but even though the area that I had to fish was limited, because I was at the back of the boat and my area to cast was limited, it was really cool though, because there was lots of bait fish there. So I got to see lots of different shad. I got to see littler shad, bigger shad. What were those ones called with an H? Hitches?
Hitch.
Yep, I got to see
Little
some
baby,
of them.
little carps.
Yeah. And so it was a really great learning day for me though, because I had to really, Corey's always told me, and I'm starting to pick it up now and understand, there's a rod for everything. And on that day, I was really able to figure out like, okay, this rod and this bait give me this projection, or I can get it here, or use this kind of movement or action with it. So even though I had a limited area that I was fishing, I tried a lot of different baits, and I tried different techniques, and I tried different rods, and I was able to just really try different things. So it was a good experience in that way.
Yeah, that is a good experience. And she done it, so her third day partner complimented her to me that he was very impressed. She didn't quit all day long, even though she's stuck the back of the boat with really nothing to cast or fish for. So she used her time wisely and came up with the new skill.
Mm-hmm. Tying the knots and using the
Without
rods.
being disruptive to that
Yes.
finite concentration that you would have when you're trying to scope for a fish.
Because I can't be back there just bouncing all over the back of the boat.
Yep.
You got to be really conscious of where you're stepping and that you're not on the edge of the boat. I tried to stay in the middle when I got hung up. Because what I would do also was, we were along kind of a seawall, and I did some aiming and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and when I got hung up, I'd have to cut off and go with that. I couldn't ask him to be like, I could ask him. It
No,
wasn't like
no,
he
no,
was
no.
unapproachable, but I just knew that like, no, he's got his eye on stuff. And you know, you got to realize too, there's other boaters that are coming into that area and they're wanting that area because they know those fish are there. So we pretty much stood our ground, and because if you leave a spot, other people will come. So
Yeah, I noticed that a lot through the tournament, that we just traded places all over the lake. Well, you guys ended up with almost 30 pounds
yeah,
on the third day.
yeah, almost 30 pounds, just a
Yeah.
little bit shy. Your third day, how about your third day? Your partner and everything else?
So went to we hit it off really well, even the night before, just on the phone. And then the next morning, you know, we were just kind of glad to see each other. We were chit-chatting it up so damn much that when they called our boat number, we were like way back here in the clouds and just kind of had to make our way through the crowd, you know, to get on up there. And we probably missed 15 boat positions because of that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. So we go to a first place, you know, just, and I think we had a couple of keepers out of there, you know, which I expected to have, but, you know, and he was aware that had two places, that place, and then I was going to finish out the whole entire rest of the day in another area, and but it was on the other end of the lake, so we buzzed down there, and I'm looking for the fish, not finding them, and I think they're on the other side of this creek mouth, and headed over the trolling motor on high, and I seen another pro just idling over to that same spot. I was like, gosh, you know, but it was actually two creeks there, and then just this one little point of and heavy trees all through, you know, even as it got wider in the back. And I needed him to go to the other side, and I hoped that he would, because he would be a little bit more wind protected, you know, out of the wind, because it was getting pretty breezy, and it's very hard to fish the upwind side of trees and brush and heavy stuff like that, because it keeps wanting to blow you into that, you know. So when he did go left, like my partner Greg the last day, you know, I guess he could hear me because I was thinking out loud. I was like, go left, please, just go left, just go left. And then when he did, you know, he said I let out a big sigh. So get over there, and I guess, you know, we had caught a couple more when we got down there, but they weren't the fish that I knew that were there. But they were keepers, and it gave us 4, and about the 4th or 5th pitch with my epic jig under there, it was a very, very soft jig bite, but that sawgrass rod, I knew it in my mind somewhere in that nanosecond. That's a fish. And then when I leaned back on her, I knew it was a big fish, and then she just got bigger and bigger as I'm trying to get her dug out of there. And I mean, I'm 6'6", 260 pounds, and I was leaned all the way into this rod. If that 30-pound trilene big game would have broke, I would have done a backflip off the other side of the boat into the water. It didn't, and got her out, and the other pro that had taken that other side, we could see each other, you know, through the trees, and my partner's going, "Wow, that's a big one." You know, he was very excited too, and we got her up, you know, and it's such a short distance when you're pitching around, you know, the fish have a lot of life in them by the time you do get them to the boat. So when he's trying to net it, and she just ain't having it, and goes over the top of the net, came back under the boat, and like, holy crap, you know, and I get her back up, you know, and she's zigging this way and zigging this way, all this under the boat, you know, and I need her to come up, you know, beside the boat, obviously. And she comes up, and I'm like, you got to get her this time, dude. This is our last chance. You got to get her. And just did get her, you know, good net man. And as he picks her up with the net, And I've still got contact with my jig, you know, in her mouth, because I've had a net break before, and then you're back at it. And I've got a hold of it, and just when he cleared the gunwale of the boat, my rod goes doing, doing. The line broke, you know, with all the scrub brush, the 3-inch limbs, the 6-inch blowdowns, just heavy timber and stuff in there, you know. And so all those things just had luck, lady luck on our side for sure. Like we were supposed to boat that fish, and good teamwork together, you know. And yeah, he was so excited. He was hugging me, and this guy's as big as I am and 100 pounds heavier, you know.
He was a great guy, though. I could tell he
Oh
was going to be
yeah,
a
he
great
was
guy.
fantastic.
Gosh, I could just
And
tell. Oops.
he's hugging me, and he's patting me on my chest, and he's patting me on my back, and he's rubbing my head, and all this, you know. And yeah, just fun times, you know, between two friends. And so I sat back down to tie my jig back on, and I was kind of struggling with it, but I wasn't thinking about it. I was just, you know, tying it back on. And he goes, "Man, your hands are still shaking." And they were just a good time between friends. And so get her tied back on. We got all situated and got ourselves gathered back together, you know, and we're talking about it. It's like a birthday party, you know, and we go around, and I think we called her, you know, for a pound or two here and there, you know. And then I leaned back into another one, just like her. And well, she was behind a limb that all I had to do was just get her over that limb, you know. And I'm holding her, and I just like, if you'll just wiggle the other direction, you'll come over the top of this, and I'll have your butt too. But
How'd that go?
well, as it turned out, you know, she's got her mouth around this limb like this, and my jig's up here in her head, and I didn't want to give back to her. You don't do that. You know, she would just do that one time, and she'd come over, and you know, I'd have a private room for her in the back of the boat.
Sweet. Sweet.
Yeah. She was kind of a savage though, and she finally shook my hook out before I could get her. But you know, with that being said, if we would have lost the first one, and then I would have lost that one too, that would have, you know, mentally things might not have gone the direction that they went. But since, you know, we got her, and then this one, yeah, she got off. I knew there was a lot more in there. You know, we just might, you know, I wanted to catch 5 of those, and I felt like they were in there, but you know, we lost her, and you're just going to do that, especially in that brush like that. So, you know, it didn't sway our emotions, you know, and get us down and get us negative, you know, where we're not fishing right, and we were still having just the time of our lives, really. And we continue to go around there and catch fish, you know, and stuff, you know, and expecting that at any time that we'll catch back into those 8 and 10 pounders, you know. And nonetheless, at the end of the day, I think we had 22.5 pounds, and we took it like a champ and went and weighed in, and it was a good day. All I can say, you know, it wasn't even in the money running as far as total weight and so forth, you know. Got a check for the big bass for the day. Largest bass I've ever caught in a tournament. That was really cool. And gosh, I guess earlier we had said, you know, like we don't know anybody out there yet, and that, you know, I mean, you want to be successful, so you want to be around other people that are successful, and if I'm not catching the fish, I'm not going to get an invite, you know, in the crowd that is catching them. And so, but by the end of that day, he travels with a crowd, and they're good fishermen, and We'll see what happens over at Mojave or
No,
Havasu. Sounds like we may be staying with those guys, but nonetheless, we'll still continue how we've been doing it, irregardless.
I kind of have a funny, you know how you were saying you guys were like cutting it up and having a good time?
Yeah.
My third day guy, it was so funny. Like I said, we were in an area that we didn't move very much from. And like I said, there was boats coming in and the size of fish that he was catching and we were bringing onto the boat, they were good sized fish. Well, it was so funny because we'd net them and, you know, then we try to hide the fish. And then I remember one time he told me, he's like,
Yeah.
And it was like he was whispering it to me. I'm like, okay. You know what? And so we're standing like shoulder to shoulder, trying to hide the fish, you know, to get it into the live well so not everybody knows what's going on, you know. But yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. It was funny. That was my funny moment. The boats are coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they will. They'll jump all over the top of you if they see you catching a fish.
Oh
They
my
just
gosh.
right in there, you know.
Right.
There was just so much competition in this tournament. I guess from there, our ride
Back
home.
Yeah, we took a different way back home. We went down pretty much the leg of California. And then
Which I might add, if you're pulling a trailer anywhere in California, any road, it's 55 mile an hour max.
if you're towing anything.
Interstate, anything. So we're just sitting here with a 700 horsepower and a dually going 55 miles an hour,
Yeah, it was great.
pulling a fishing boat.
It was so great.
Yeah. Yeah. And so anyway, we get through that and
Yep, we stayed just outside of Lake Havasu. What was it? Needles, California.
Needles, yeah.
Because we decided on our way there that heck, we're just gonna stop because Lake Havasu is our next stop in another month for another one bass tournament. So we were.
Yeah, we just wanted to make a hot lap around the lake and just take a look at it, look at the watercolor, see what it looks like to us. And
for Corey and I like to look at the lake too, but I also want to know what the ramp looks like because that's a big stress for me, getting the boat backed in, you know, where to park. That's always a stressor for me, always a stressor for me. But oh my gosh, what a beautiful facility that is.
Very
Oh
nice.
my gosh.
Very, very nice.
Riviera. Gosh, I don't want to ruin the name of it.
Riviera Marina or
Havasu.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That's where One Bass has decided that's going to be the host marina, and that is awesome. 6-lane boat ramp, beautiful parking,
Yeah.
bathrooms. It's great.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
Beautiful.
So we get there and they had just had a poker run and some other stuff, you know, with these great big 40-foot offshore power boats. There's like 200 of them that are still there Sunday morning.
Man. Yeah.
Incredible
I've never
boats.
seen anything like that. Those
Thousands
before.
of horsepower.
They'd start up.
Yeah, and some of them are still at it the next morning, you know, just 120 miles an hour down the lake and turn around and come back.
The noise and the vibration from their engines alone is
From a mile
crazy.
away.
It's crazy.
Helicopters, chase helicopters, you know, flying. I mean, these are race teams with what seems like unlimited budgets. But it was pretty cool, you know, to see a lot of that. So it was certainly a little later in the morning when we wanted to get started, but 9 or 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock probably.
It was like 9:30, yep.
So we want to kind of avoid all that race boat traffic. So we just come out and we just kind of come around the corner there, and there's bathrooms. A lot of these lakes out west have bathrooms. Like Meade has floating bathrooms. So you can just pull up there on the lake, and they have bathroom facilities that are just floating on barges, little barges. We'll come around there. Well, there's bathrooms right there. So I just got on the trolling motor. Let's just head over there, and on the way, I seen there's still a few on the bed at Havasu, and I seen a smallmouth. It was like 14, 15 foot deep, on a bed, and I could tell within a few seconds that we'll catch that fish. So we just go and use the bathroom and move over. I think I had to make a lure change.
Mm-hmm. You put a leader on.
Oh yeah, I just changed my leader to the light because it's very, very clear compared to Clear Lake. Havasu is very clear, like bathtub water. And just backed over there in the first pitch over there, and he was off. He was 10, 12 feet away. And just bounced on the bed and just waited for him to turn around. And when he come around, just showed it to him once or twice, and he gobbled it up. So it was really easy. Bed fishing can be extremely easy, and it can be very irritating. Sometimes you know immediately whether that fish will bite or not. Other times it may take up to 5 minutes to decide whether it will bite or not. If you decide that it will not bite, just go. Don't hang around for 45 minutes chasing a pipe dream, because there's some that will and some that won't. You may come back to him later in the day and he may be in the mood. And if he will bite, then it becomes a challenge in your mind of how much time do you want to spend on him to get him to bite. Even though he will, is the wait worth 2 hours or 3 hours? Somebody last week spent 9 hours on a bass on OH Ivy, but the bass weighed 14 some pounds. I'd probably spend 9 hours on it. You couldn't in a tournament because you only have 8 hours start to finish. But bed fishing is can be challenging. It's my favorite way. That's mano a mano sight fishing. There's no electronics, no nothing. It's my lure and him and so forth, or her. Little 3-pound smallmouth, little male. He was just guarding the nest. It's pretty much all done there as far as I could tell. And then we just went looking on the trolling motor. We run across the lake, looking a little bit, just getting a feel for the clarity and the terrain and topography and so forth. And then went loaded up and
then got going down the road. Went down to I-10. They had some wreck, so we were on.
It was a fire. A semi caught on fire.
Yeah, but they had the interstate.
So we're stuck out in the middle of the desert.
2 hours?
At least.
2 hours.
At least 2 hours, not knowing how long it would be, and there was still.
As we watched the time on the GPS showing us we're getting later and later and later. And Corey's got to go to work this morning.
I actually expected to get home around 12:30 or 1 o'clock this morning, and it ended up being about 4:30 this morning. So about enough time to take a shower and put your work clothes on and go to work. So I think that's.
Yeah. Everything, no flat tires, no mechanical issues.
Yeah.
A little bit of trials and tribulations, but I guess.
And you're going to go through that, so when we left here, my boat is 11 months old now. We had 28,000 miles on the trailer. And so add another 3,600 miles to that, and we've still got another month. We'll be in Havasu by the time that the boat's a year old. So that says a lot about Bass Cat trailers. If you're just driving an hour, 2 or 3 to one of your home lakes and stuff, you'd probably go an eternity with most any brand of trailer. Your boat, whatever brand of trailer your boat uses. Because no other bass boat company builds their own trailers. And Bass Cat trailers are built like a brick shit house. And they're easy to pull. They stay right behind you. They don't fishtail and wave around back there or nothing. You know, they pull as true as can be. And the reason why I say that is because when you start getting 1,800 miles away from your home base, there's a lot of road construction, potholes. There's driving at night in the dark. You don't know what lays ahead of you. Is this road rough or not, or is this section coming up going to be rough? And of course, you're driving as fast as the speed limit will allow you, and allegedly. and here's a bridge, you know, that you feel like you're going to get airborne on, and just things like that. So big shout out to Bass Cat and their product, you know, and I don't see that they build their boats any lesser than that. They're the excuse me, they're the heaviest boat there is. One of the absolute fastest boats there is. A truly fishing machine, a traveling machine. So gives you a lot of peace of mind, confidence that you're not gonna have to stop somewhere and have your trailer welded back up, or the axles get out of line because you hit a pothole somewhere at 70 miles an hour. And yeah.
But we made it safe and sound. We saw one wreck the whole time, and that was that semi that was on fire, and we really didn't see that. All we saw was the
25 miles of brake lights.
God, it was horrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
I will say that I did bring this rod in here, the Sawgrass rod, and this is what I was using to pitch jigs with in the heavy timber. It's a catalog series. They have a 7.3 heavy in their Bodark series. This rod is rated as heavy. That thing is as light as some crappie rods I've fished with. It's insane how light this rod is. But it's not like your typical heavy that you buy at a box store or something, production run type of rod. This actually has a nice soft tip to it. So you can feel that jig. You can feel those incredibly soft bites that you're gonna get a lot of times with a jig. And then it just gets progressively stiffer as it comes on down. It's not parabolic bend, it just gets progressively where you would think that a guy my size could absolutely destroy this rod at any given time setting the hook on an 11 pounder in heavy timber. I felt it flexing all the way back in here in the handle. No chance this rod's gonna break. It's unbelievable. So when we were over there at Collins at Sawgrass's facility in Dallas, back in March, and Collins held a rod like that, or I did. I held the rod and he grabbed the other end of it and he says, try to break it while he holds the end of it. And I leaned into that like I felt like I was picking a dead deer up off the highway with it or something. You know, it was so heavy feeling in my hand. And yeah, let's try to break it. I couldn't break it. Holy crap. So that gives you a lot of confidence to throw such a lightweight in your hand. When you're pitching all day, things start to wear on your elbows, your shoulders, wrists, hands, fingers, and in your neck and shoulders and all the way into your back. That thing is like a miracle. It's a miracle. Reflex guides. I don't know if you can see that. So you can bend these around. They stand right back up. If you take somebody else's, you're going to bend that 2 or 3 times. You're going to bend it, and then you're going to have to physically bend it back into place. You do that about 2 or 3 times, and it breaks off. It's done. They're hand built with precision. Man, these guys love what they do.
And they're very proud.
This is all that they do. These are true craftsmen that truly care about the product. If they don't feel like what they're working on is going in the right direction, they scrap it and they start over. So whatever rod that they finish is going to be perfect when it's completed. Not kind of perfect, not 99% perfect. It's just an immaculate piece of artwork, like a generational rod, in my opinion.
Well, and he always answers his phone too. When you call them,
That's right.
they answer the phone.
That's right. And I think he wants to talk to his customers. He doesn't want you just to put in an internet order and it's like, well, where's this going and who's getting it and
Right.
stuff. I don't think they want to build 20,000 rods a year. They want to build enough to stay in business, but not so many that they feel pressured
Yeah,
to the point that they start putting them out too fast.
assembly line kind of thing.
Yeah. That's my take on it. Now, that's not their words. That's just my take on it and my observation.
Yeah.
I love working with people like that just give a crap about what they're doing. It's not a job to them. That's their life.
Well, and they listen to you. He listens to Corey, and he is and has built exactly what Corey wants. Corey will say, "This is what I want," and he'll say, "Okay, this is this, and this."
Yeah.
So it's like ordering a car. You want leather seats and
Ordering a handmade car.
Yeah.
A handmade car.
Well, a special order or something. It's something very special.
Yep. Yeah. I can't say enough about them. But I have an attachment to people that really give a crap about what they're doing, for a living or really give a crap about what they're doing for a hobby or anything else like that, And these guys certainly do. And they're American made. That means something to me. I know the guys that are building them. If they're not American made, I don't know that the 9-year-old that's suffering, that his life has already been put out for him, and this is what he's going to be doing in this sweatshop the rest of his life. So you can have a rod for $100 or something. No, I probably shouldn't even have said that.
It's kind of true, though.
It is kind of true, but I probably shouldn't have said that. But nonetheless, perfect product. Perfect. It's perfect. And then, anything else?
I got to use quite a few sawgrass rods too, so he's not going to share, but I'm going to get my own.
I think I shared pretty well.
He did. He gave me his most favorite rod to use and the best reel we have. I got that for the competition, so I was pretty stoked. And I didn't want to give it back to him. But boy, you never realize a fine piece of equipment until you lay your hands on it and start being able to use it and work it, and how minimal effort you have to do to get the action that you want out of it. It was just, it's mind-blowing for me because I'm not used to that. So I don't know that, but when I was able to perform and do things, I was like, whoa, this is what it's all about. This is why you order a rod like you want it to be.
Yeah. Can't say enough about sawgrass rods. American made.
Epic Baits.
Epic Baits. It was a 1/2 ounce Epic Bait jig. Their hooks are, the angle that their hooks are that come out of that head, or the angle that the eyelet comes out of the head, really lets you stick those fish so much better than a lot of other brands do. And when I stuck her, and like I said, it was a very, very finite bite. Like it was just almost like a little crappie bite. And when I stuck her, it was like it was never coming out. The line may have broke. She may have got wrapped up in stuff that I couldn't get to, or maybe like the last fish, the bigger one, or the other big one. But I knew that the jig was stuck, and it was good. And like I said, 30-pound Trilene big game. So for you guys that have been around for a while, when that was kind of a thing, that stuff is stout. It is like 30-pound big game is like 50 or 60 pound, anything else. And that line broke just as that fish got in the net. So if that tells you about any of the terrain, timber, you know, to get that fish out of there while I'm leaned back all the way in the back of the shoes with just flat standing up in the stirrups with that rod. It was amazing. When you just jack an 11 pounder out of the woods, that says a lot about a rod that weighs like ounces. So.
Well, and a really cool story too. The area that he got that fish out of, what was it, the very first day?
Mm-hmm.
The very first day we were there pre-fishing, we kind of came into that area, and it was kind of later at night, later in the afternoon. It was our last stop, our last place we found, and Corey said, "This is it. They're gonna be here. This is it." And ta-da!
Yeah. Well, and not to make a long story longer, but you know, as those days, those 4 days went on, you know, and advice and pointers and direction, you know, from other people, well received. But at the end of the day, which I lost track of that, you know, but at the end of the day, you have to fish your, you have to fish your style and your strengths, and fish on your ability and mental ability and what you think is right. And trying to fish other people's is, I've just never been much of a fan of that. I've never been much a fan of getting information. I'd rather find the fish myself, because if I can find the fish myself, I can catch them myself how I catch fish. Mm-hmm. Now, I made no mistakes. You should take other people's advice and things into consideration on them when you've never been to that lake before, or any other lake you've never been to before, and someone says, well, you know, this and that, and over here and over there and over here. You should respectfully give it a shot. Now, if I would have had 7 days of pre-fishing, I think that I would have started there day one. But like I said earlier, next year, if we can pick up there where we left off, and we'll see what transpires next year. You know, it's a learning year, you know, for both of us out there. None of these lakes we've ever been to before, so.
I got a check.
You got a check.
Yeah.
We both come home with checks. And a pair of Costa Del Mar glasses and a net.
Yeah.
So,
So good job out there, One Bass. All the staff, all
God,
the people behind.
Golly, how did we forget that? So, the 3-day all-time record, any bass tournament trail anywhere in the world. Not only did one guy break the all-time record heaviest 3-day weight, 2 guys broke it. Got century belts, 2 guys in 3 days of fishing with 102 and 101 pounds in 3 days. That's getting them, old son. That Clear Lake has got them, and One Bass has got the facility to get you there throughout the whole West Coast. And here's another thing about guys that follow fishing, has seen the atmosphere that seems to be clouding over some of the eastern circuits. And when I say eastern, I mean Midwest on over to South Carolina. One Bass doesn't have any drama, and I promise you, they are one live TV camera away from being the shining star. I guarantee you. Those guys out there are freaking hammers. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't noticed over the last 30, 40 years, guys from the West Coast can come over and fish those other things. Guys from over there generally respectfully, don't do as well coming out there. So if you want some serious competition, you come to the West Coast and jump in there with one bass.
And it's very well ran.
Very well, very well, very well.
And thank you to all of the One Bass staff. You guys are rock stars.
Yeah. Congratulations to all 175 other pros and all 175 other
Triple A's.
AAAs. So, that
Peace
is.
out from Texas.
Peace out. See you in a month.